Hey guys, welcome to Digital Learning Week number 2. Woohoo! So I hope you guys all felt good about the coil pot from last week. This week we are going to be making a slab pot. So an example of that would be this. So it has flat walls all the way around. Okay, and we're going to make these little boxes. So again, we're using all the materials that we talked about last week. I have this cardboard piece down on the table. I have my chunk of clay. I am going to roll it out with a rolling pin and some cling wrap over the top of it so I don't get it dirty. But for right now, I'm going to push this down on the tabletop to flatten it out a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to grab my rolling pin and a piece of saran wrap to put over the clay. I do this because this is the easiest thing to do to make sure that I am not getting clay on my rolling pin. So I just put a piece of saran wrap over the clay once I push it down onto the cardboard. And then I'm going to roll it out. Now, when you're rolling out clay like this, you can kind of think about it kind of like we were rolling out that first project that we did with the plates, when we were making our plates. We want to roll out the clay fairly consistently, okay? And we want it to be fairly thick, okay? So I'm going to take my saran wrap off. If we look at the walls of this box, this is a nice thickness, okay? So this is kind of a quarter to a half of an inch, okay? So what we can do is stick something like our plastic fork or knife or whatever into the clay, and I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to touch just on that right where it hits the top of the clay so I can see it is this thick, okay? So that's a good thickness. And what I've already done is I have cut out a template. So I just grabbed a scratch piece of paper that I had laying around, and I just cut out a little square, okay? This square is probably 3 by 3 inches, okay? Doesn't have to be very big. If you don't have as much clay, you can always make it 2 by 2 inches if you want. The idea is just to get the feel for how to put a slab pot together. It's not going to be perfect because we are working from home, limited everything, but the idea is that we're still learning these different techniques, okay? So I have my template that I cut out of paper, and I have my piece I just rolled out. I'm going to put my paper on top of my rolled out piece. I'm going to use my little plastic or metal or whatever fork. This is not a fork. This is a knife. This is a knife. I'm going to use my knife, and I'm going to use this to cut my clay. So again, I'm trying to only use tools that you guys would have access to at home. So to make it easier for you. So I'm just literally cutting out, you can tell, just slicing the clay with the knife, and I'm going to remove all the extra clay. I don't need that right now. And what you're going to do is you're going to repeat this same process. I'm going to take this template off, and I'm going to use this again. And you are going to do this 4 times. So you're going to make 4 different walls. So here is, you can see my clay is stuck a little bit to my cardboard. Okay. So I kind of rolled up the edges, which is fine, whatever. So I made my side. Okay, I'm going to make 4 of these, okay? So I'm going to skip ahead because I already Okay, so we jumped ahead. I already have my 4 cutout pieces, okay, for 4 walls for my box. And now what I'm going to do is I have to combine these walls together. So what we typically do is I kind of talked about it a little bit last week, we slip and score. So I kind of introduced that. The pieces that I've seen thus far have not really slipped and scored anything together, which is fine. You might not have to. But for this project, I'm going to show you how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide which direction each of my pieces are going to go in. I'm going to kind of set up this box how I want it to look, like that. So I know which sides I'm going to be slipping and scoring, okay? So, dun. I'm going to use a handy little plastic fork, and I'm going to score the edges of this piece of clay. So I'm literally just taking this fork and scraping the sides in different directions. Okay, so I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of eating up this surface. I'm creating all these little indentations in the clay to then put water in. So I have this little cup of water right here, and I'm just dipping my finger in the water, and I'm going to rub the water into the cracks. The idea is that you want the water to get into the cracks so that when you put it up against clay, it's like the teeth within the clay, it's helping to combine the two pieces. So here I have my water. So you can see the water is totally in the cracks. So I filled in all those cracks with water. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to score this edge, okay? So now I'm going to score this edge because this is where the walls are going to attach, okay? I am not going to put water on this edge. The water I only need to put on one side, but you score both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this wall together like this. I'm going to kind of squeeze it into place. Ta-da! It's not stable yet, okay? So I'm going to kind of smooth it together a little bit. And in order to create stability for these two walls, I'm actually going to take some clay and I'm going to roll a little coil. Now, you guys are all master rollers from rolling coils last week. I'm just going to roll a mini coil, okay? So I'm going to take my clay and obviously I did not create enough room over here. I'm going to roll a little coil, okay? So here we go. I just have this little coil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this so you can see it, okay? I'm going to stick this coil into this crease, okay? So you can see that this coil is now in this crease. I'm going to hold the back side as I kind of smooth this coil out. And I can use my finger to smooth up. Okay, the idea is I want this coil now to disappear. I like to use the back of my nail, and I just kind of go in there like this and combine these surfaces, and I'm going to use the back of my thumbnail for this side. And you can see that now the coil has disappeared. You can't see those lines of where that coil was, okay? And then I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to smooth that edge out, okay? So now these pieces are very stable, very put together well, okay? I'm going to do the same thing to this edge. I already have my slip and scoring over there. I'm going to slip and score this here, scoring up the surface, okay? I'm going to put my slab right here. I'm going to smooth this edge out really quick. Then I'm going to use the rest of my coil. I'm going to hold, you can watch me hold this edge as I get it from that direction here. As I push this coil into place, I'm holding this outer edge. I don't want to put too much pressure on it. And then I'm going to push that in, and again, use my fingernail on the back of that one to combine the coil to this clay, and then I'm going to use the back of my thumbnail to combine this area, okay? And then smooth it out. So I'm going to repeat this process for the last wall. okay? Okay, so I've jumped ahead a little bit. I've put my box together, so you can see the inside. You can see all the coils that have combined. The edges, you can't see them anymore, okay? My box is not completely straight on the top, which is fine, okay? I can always sit down and drop my box onto the tabletop a little bit, and that would help to clean up the upper edge, okay? So the next thing we're going to do once my box is completed around the edges is I want to put the bottom in my box, okay? So I already rolled out a little slab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this box and I'm going to put the slab, or I'm going to put the box on top of the slab, and I'm going to take my knife and I am going to cut around the bottom edge. I like to do it this way because sometimes even if I calculate and cut the size of the box, what the bottom's going to be before I put it together, sometimes it just kind of distorts a little bit as I'm putting it together. So I like to cut the base of it after the walls are together because then I can ensure that the bottom fits, okay? So this is just how I like to do it. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this extra clay around the outside, okay? And now I'm going to do the same thing to the base that I did to the sides. First, I'm going to make sure that it's not stuck to the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip and score the bottom. Score, score, score. Score, score, score. There we are. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom edge. Let's score around this bottom edge. Rough it up. Woo woo. Okay. And then I'm going to use my little water cup. Here we go. Oh, you can't see that one. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to put, you can put the water on either side, it's fine. I'm going to put the water on there. Come on. So it can seep into those cracks. So I can combine that bottom edge. Oh, there. And then I'm going to flip it over onto the base. Okay. And I'm going to push the sides of the walls down a little bit as best I can without distorting it. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the sides. Okay. I'm going to roll out little coils and I'm going to attach it to the base all the way around the bottom. Okay. So I'm just going to take my little coils and I'm going to put it into the bottom. I'll show you in just a second. So you can see my coil down there. I'm going to use the back of my nail and I'm going to attach that piece. And I'm going to do that all the way around the base. So a little hint, if you are having trouble getting to the bottom and smoothing it out with your fingers, I was using just the back side of my knife and I was holding the outside and using the knife to combine all the coils in the inside, just like that. That was helping a lot. After my walls are all put together, I flipped over my box and I'm just kind of combining this edge and smoothing this down. And I can do this all the way around my pot at the base of it. And on the sides, I can kind of pinch like right here to make sure that these walls edges are together. If you need to add a little extra clay, you can. And then in just a second here, I'm going to show you the best ways that you can clean this up after you're done. Okay, guys, the last thing that we're going to do is just clean up the edges. I'm actually using just an old Starbucks gift card that doesn't have anything on it, or an old credit card, and you can use this on the edge to just scrape up. You can see what I'm doing, scrape up on the sides. You can go over like here, and this is going to help you really clean up the outside of this pot and make it nice and smooth. So I'm going to do this all the way around, and then I have my pot. Yay! So don't forget to show me your pots on Flipgrid because I just want to see your lovely faces. Check OneNote for any other instructions, but you'll need to fill out the reflection and post